Oh my God, it's the world premiere, ladies and gentlemen, and it's your boy GNL Zamba. Those words are part of my intro for one of my favorite songs in hip-hop and in my career and in my catalog. Those ardent fans of GNL Zamba know that this is AMANYI. I would like to welcome you to our episode of Decoded. This episode is about the song AMANYI. AMANYI, uchitegera. AMANYI. Where do I start? Allow me to introduce myself. If you believe it, you shall achieve it. If your mind perceives it, you shall receive it. We heal the broken hearts, then we cry and get over it. So I'm saying in that particular song, before we got into all the verses, I'm setting the tone. I like when I can set, it's like how a painter first creates a white canvas or a black canvas or a green canvas on which he's going to paint. Usually I use my intros that way. So I'm saying if you believe it, then you can achieve it. That means that there's nothing impossible under the sun. And also there's the power of speaking things into existence and attracting things, right? I'm also putting that in there. And I'm saying, allow me to introduce myself. It's like I knew that I had to introduce myself and also reintroduce myself. I think that was like really swaggy, and I love that song. So getting into the first verse. Tewebuza lwaki ntambula nanuka ku street nga rubber bandi Kampala eringa firimu mbawunsinga nga badi ebizikinjikuba okukira ebyuma bya bandi ensi yali ekaluba naye njigonzezza nga blue bandi GNL Katonda ali munze yenze badi zijjukira ebiseera bwe batudisinga nti no hip hop talivaayo tali developinga batudisinga nga ffe tetumindinga katumanyi nti no mu microphones mulimu gold ffe gwe tumininga kati raba awadi yefe abaziwininga essimu zijja ku show smilinga motoka ez'ebbeeyi kati ffe zetuparkinga wines eziri expensive zetusipinga mu bufo bw'ebbeeyi mwana mwe tukiringa ne busexy obuli sexy bwe tudatinga. Tell me if I set up the picture that way, right? By the time I did this song, I couldn't afford any of those things I was rapping about. But like I told you that in the verse, in the intro, I had to speak things into existence, and I'm proud to say that all the things that I spoke into that verse have come true. Ochiraba. One of the reasons why I did not shoot a video for this song was because I felt I hadn't arrived to where I wanted to be. So the AMANYI video actually has just been shot recently when I had moved to the States. That's when I shot the video. But Shadrach wanted me to shoot the video. Emron wanted me to shoot the video. Most of my fans wanted to see the video. But I personally, as the artist, I felt like that song was for the future, for things that I was attracting into my circle, into my cipher. And it wasn't long before this song hit that all those things that I began speaking about nebija, which tegera, with drinking expensive wine, and ndikushato mamo mu Hollywood, ntandise kuyingira Serena sicyatunulira the right side of the bill, which tegera. What would they call right side of the bill? Nga butwingira mu restaurant, you're looking at the right side of the bill. You get me? So I've lived that life, and I think I'm a strong believer in two things, speaking things into existence. I believe that the tongue creates. And like I've told you, I did not have the money that I was talking about when I wrote this song. But I'm glad that at least 99.99999% of the things I'm speaking about in AMANYI, the universe has given me. And I've also affirmed in the song that Katonda ali nange. In that verse, people don't realize that I've always preached in most of my work. God has his place in my art. So even in AMANYI, I said, Katonda ali nange yenze bad. Like, who are you going to go against? God is on his team. Just give up. You can't beat him, join him. And then see a phenomenal one. So moving on. The song, before AI, before people were able to use voices of people that had passed away. I think this was one of those first Ugandan songs to sample a legend and really deliver at the level where the legend themselves would be impressed. I believe Eddy Wamala would be impressed by this. Before AI, before anything, nemu auto nagamba nti ani yali amanyi technology alikula. Like, who knew that technology would grow that I would record a song with a legend? Shout outs to Ethan, who made the beat. I think he did the beat justice. He sampled Eddy Wamala. And I think I wrote this song in about 30 minutes tops, or from top to bottom. It was about 30 minutes. In the middle or on top of the verses, I usually do ad-libs. Abantu bayita ad-libs ezo ng'owuliranga waliwo chorus eyimba, then waggulu waliwo omuntu ayogererako, right? I like layering my songs like that because it allows me to... You've already had the chorus the first time, so the second time I'm going to give you that story, but that story is going to be layered. Angenda kugamba nti I used to go to DV8 and I used to perform and I did not have transport money to go back home because I was dealing with junkie promoters who would disappear. You get me? I used to talk about, in that song I also talked about how I used to sell water, right? Before I would go to school. Now, in reality, it wasn't me physically selling the water until ngute bidomola by'amazzi onagulayo. That wasn't me. But our home, most people don't know this, but Fig Farmaker's home and our home are like very close. Like I can throw a stone into his compound and they can throw a stone into my compound, like where we grew up. Fig Farmaker himself will tell you, waliwo clip ke yali agamba, it wasn't me telling the people, but bachimange mazze waffe. So our compound had the tap where most people would come and get their water. They would come with their containers, pay, or was that for it was 50 shillings or 100 or 200, I don't really remember. Yeah, but our compound was in the middle of the ghetto, and most people used to get their water from our compound. So, ani yali amanyi nti gwe yali nkusooka ng'okutunda amazzi, kitegeera, time comes now nga you're the flow itself, you get me? Basically, ani yali amanyi. So this is the program Decoded. I'm your boy GNL Zamba. In this program, we dive into the lyrics, give you the story, give you the background, a deeper insight and understanding into the lyricist, the story that's being told, and also to frame it into time, chisel and emboss, you know, the classic etched in time. So, second verse. Ng'ebigambo by'oluyimba nga tekuli instrumental, banji bali eyo mu ghetto tebalina capital. Ololabyeko embuzi ng'eraalidde mu bisooto, bataata banji bwe batyo babeera nga bafaanana, ng'akomyewo awaka talina mata g'abatooto, nga ne maama Jo gamuweddeko mu nnywanto kuba kafoto. Ng'ensi ekuyuuzanga embuyaga bw'ebeera ng'ekuba eryato. Kola n'amaanyi Katonda ajja kuwa omukisa. Va mu kukomplaininga buli ssaawa ng'odongooto, beera n'ekirooto. Ndabe banji abazze Kampala nga talina wadde engatto okuggyako enjoka mu lubuto. Ogenda okuwulira emyaka 5 nti oyava Moroto kati azimba Bukoto. Kola n'amaanyi, no retreat no surrender ye motto. Katonda yamanyi gy'ova ate era yamanyi gy'ogenda. Once again, I've always told you that my career depends on God, right? I think that's no secret. Like even Nawagambi, first, there's always a God code somewhere in my lyrics. Like even at the end of this, I tell you still, it's God who designs your path, God who designs your destiny, no matter who your God is or how you define your God. But for me, I believe that this universe is conspiring in my favor, no matter what. And in this song, second verse, I'm painting the picture of, imagine if everything was just a cappella with no beat, right? It wouldn't like really be full, it wouldn't be complete. And have you ever seen a goat stuck in the mud? Now, most people might not have gotten the metaphor of the goat, but you might be the greatest of all time in your family, right? Being a first-time father, now I now know it even on a deeper level. To your son, to your daughter, when you're coming back home, the look they give you in their eyes, you're basically Superman. You're their goat. You're their greatest of all time. They know nothing else. So But sometimes that goat can get stuck in the mud. Embuzi esobola okulalira mu bisooto. So I'm evoking a picture. I'm giving you a picture of a goat stuck in the mud, right? And a parent is trying to find ways to survive through the city, through the hustle. But imagine them coming back home without the money for milk for their young one, right? I think that's the most heartbreaking thing for most people who are parents, right? Coming back home when you can't provide, when you're not the provider, and you're coming back home, but the mother of the child also no longer has enough milk in her breasts to feed the child. So that's basically a predicament. And growing up in Kawempe, which is basically one of the biggest ghettos in Kampala, right? You see those stories, you feel them, you hear them with your neighbors, right? People are forced to knock on your door and swallow their pride and say, tonight, I'm eating supper with you guys. Because, sometimes they would even just say, abana kabaliyeko namwe, which means, can my kids have supper with you guys? Those were common stories. And sometimes we would also be borrowing salt, borrowing sugar, you know. So and so has a ride, they're taking you to school or taking you to hospital. So that community element was always there, but it all takes sometimes swallowing the pride, and people are humbled to be able to ask for these things. And it's a very humbling situation when the provider cannot provide. The mother doesn't have the milk, the dad does not have the money. And that's the imagery I'm painting for YALI AMANYI. And then at the end of the day, I'm giving you encouragement. Before there were all these motivational speakers you see on Twitter, on what, rappers were the first people giving inspiration, you know, and all through time. The griots were always giving inspiration. So I'm telling you, stop complaining all the time like Odongo Oto. Much respect to Odonga Oto. Odonga Oto was one of the most forspoken gentlemen and MPs of our time, right? But every time I saw Odongo Oto, there was nothing positive. He was always complaining, and maybe I was only seeing the clips but not seeing the full picture of where he was offering solutions. So in my mind, I was saying, stop complaining. This time, we already know what the problem is. So what's the solution, though? To call your complaining, what's the solution? So in most situations, when I hear rappers talk about hip-hop utatunda, but we're having this problem. Okay, now, tired of the same old song, right? What's the solution? Let's begin talking about solutions. And I know solutions are not easy to come by, but if we are failing, let's fail forward. Let's fail together, but let's try to do something about it instead of becoming an armchair critic, you get me? And not putting energy behind what you're complaining about. They said the biggest change yatekwa kuva mugwe. So in verse 2, I'm drawing a picture of a dire situation, but I'm also saying that we as a community and we as ourselves are the people to form the solutions, you get me, to our own problems. So that's YALI AMANYI verse 2 on Decoded, right here at Baboon Forest Network. You're now tuned to Greatness. Your boy GNL Zamba, and the G stands for Greatness. So chimanyi nawe. Mr. Content Chapa kubuli continent wa Baboon Forest Entertainment, Nsimbi Tulye Lupiazitta. Right now we're on Decoded, and the song of the episode is YALI AMANYI, and this is verse 3. I need to show you my jewelry for this one, because really, verse 2 was about a naku, you know. First one was swaggy. Now I wanted to speak to the ladies on this one. I wanted to paint a picture. I wanted a romantic picture. And what's an African king without gold? Most people don't know their history. They believe mbu oyambala chaini nga America zijaka malo nawe. Do you know what Mansa Musa looked like? Have you ever seen the Asanta Hene of Ghana? Eh? And the chain jabera yambade kente. Wearing gold is part of an African man's soul, it's part of his identity. So here we go. Verse 3. Sawa mwenda ndi muntinda. It's a rainy day with some sparks of thunder. Omwana ngamba ndi kulu nga katunda. She's a half Muchigaran, half Muganda. Type esoko kumanyanga tanawala mpachitanda. Ono angel wa katonda, si wa Amanda. Love is a war and I got feelings to surrender. Bwe nabeera naye nja kumalako nja kuzannya kyenda. Kyenva mukwate mpola ng'abeera anyiga ensanjabavu. Kubanga ye mukazi yasooka okunjagala mu bwavu. Nali nsiiwuuse ng'eyali yeesiize vvu. Ye yalungiwa n'awanvuwa ng'ekitooke kya kivuuvu. Nali manyi nti alifunayo omulala ng'alina kavu. N'agumye nange mu bulamu bw'ekivubuka obutaliimu ssavu. Mbala emyaka 7 tuli mu laavu. Ani yali amanyi nti ndibeera ne muwala wa biro. Dani! Okitegeera? Asani yali amanyi verse 3. And like I told you, speaking things into existence, there's a code in there. Abagezi bajja kitegeera kodi mugiwulidde mweri omwolwo oluyimba. But in this verse I'm talking about the women that persevere with their men, right? Help me out here. In verse 3 I'm talking about relationships, right? I'm talking about the women that persevere with their men, right? Obedde nange mu bulamu bw'ekivubuka obutali musavu. Few women persevere with men nga they're going through their struggle. That's when you really know if you made a whole housewife or if you really found yourself a queen that's going to stick with you through thick and thin. A woman who loves you when you don't have. A man is tested when he has everything. Right? A woman is tested when her man has nothing. That's when you test a relationship. So on the man, what's demanded is royalty. Ogume nange mu bulamu bw'ekivubuka obutali musavu. Mbala emyaka 7 tuli mu laavu. Ani yali amanyi nti beera ne muwala wa biroodi. Ani. Okitegeera? So it's about royalty, relationship, and at the beginning I'm painting a picture of being in Tinder. You get me? And I'm talking about onomwana wa katonda si wa Amanda. If you're old enough, you'll remember that in Uganda's history, there was Shadow's Angels, and then there was Amanda's Angels. You get me? So I'm talking about this chick being God-fearing, you know. She's not a stripper, basically, because Amanda's Angels were strippers. They used to do... They used to strip all around Kampala, and it was a group of people that used to strip. I'm like, also that, oh no, she takes her time to know you before she takes off her clothes. You get me? Like there's time for conversation. And the whole third verse is starting to liquidate, which together. And Mukwana to celebrating a life and falling in love again and again and again, saying, who knows? Ani yali amanyi nti giwera emyaka 7 nga tukyeraba. So celebrating the anniversary, celebrating the hustle with those who have been with you and appreciating the contributions. Okitegeera. So for me, this song was written so easily because I did not have to reach so far from my reality to create it. Rappers always talking about a rags to riches situation, right? And the things that we hope for. And for me, it was easy to draw from my poverty and the things on my vision board, what I wanted to achieve, right? And I just put them into a song. I wanted the nice cars. I wanted to drink expensive wine. I wanted to live in expensive places. I wanted a woman to love. I wanted peace, love, joy, happiness. And that's the picture that I painted with AMANYI. And I wasn't just painting that picture of a guy who already made it. I was painting a picture of the people who are on the journey to get there, the mentality and the perseverance, the drive that requires you to get there. You cannot become, just like and then you become rich when you're just lying down. Nedda. Otego kulemerako paka bagambo yajja waneeno nga talina ngatto katazimba bukoto. He came here having only worms in his belly and having no shoes. And right now he's building his mansion in Bukoto. That's the success story. That's the AMANYI story. Ono yajja waneeno Ngamutembe. He came here as a trader, as a food trader, selling to people in taxis and in transport and on transport routes. Right now, he has about 4 shops in Chikubo. That's progress. So this song was dedicated to everybody who is a hustler, everybody who is a parent, everybody who is basically, it's a very African struggle, a very Ugandan struggle, but it's also universal in a way that everywhere you go, ghetto to ghetto, the ghetto is the same. Whether in Brazil, or in South Africa, whether in Soweto, the struggle is the same. Whether in Chibera, this song applies everywhere that you can take it. And I think that's what makes it a classic. And it comes from the album whose theme was bridging tradition with modernity, but also bridging our reality and our visions, creating the ladder and the blueprint for us to get there. So this has been Decoded. I'm your boy GNL Zamba, Mr. Content, Chapa Kubuli Continent, Owababoon Forest Entertainment, Nsimbi Tulye Lupiazitta, Chintu Chigwera mu buwumbi ku bank statement. Never mpayo just one moment, Nkulaga City just great, but that you and I can be magnificent. This is Decoded. Tune into our Baboon Forest channels on the GNL Zamba channel. Subscribe, leave a notification bell. Let us know what you think about the subject matter, about the songs. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What song should we do next? We are waiting to hear from you. And see ya fenemi Rirwano. Don't be good, be great.